Hello, hello. This is Danielle Ireland, and you are catching an episode of Don't Cut Your Own Bangs. And today, I have the opportunity to sit down with CityMoms founder, Jeanine Bobenmoyer. Jeanine is a mom of teens, a yoga addict, a Michigan native, and an avid reader. Her dream vacation includes hiking in national parks with her family and a cup of hot chai. And do we get into the tea in this episode? But our tea is super heartfelt, heart-led, and based on community building and vulnerability. If that's the stuff that you're into, then, you are going to love this conversation. Of all the things I took from this episode, what Jeanine embodies and what you are able to learn from as well is what it means to trust yourself. And that in the process of honoring yourself, giving a wholehearted, loving no, or saying yes to adventure, it is leading you to something that is not only in service of you, but in service of others. Jeanine has founded a community, CityMoms, and started as a local community that she built based on her own need in Indianapolis, but it has grown and it is popping up in cities all over the country. We get into the early days, and please stay tuned. If there was ever a don't cut your own bang moment to really not want to miss, this is a good one. It bookends the episode perfectly because we start by talking about her business and the community and company that she started. But we understand the why, the deep, profound, heartfelt why that inspired it all. What I believe to be true, that when we act in service of ourselves, it ultimately rises everybody up with you. Everything we have leading up to it is also just equally beautiful, sweet, funny, and endearing. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Jeanine, for this beautiful conversation. I can't wait for you to sit back, relax, or put in your AirPods and go for a walk, however you like to listen, and enjoy. Jeanine Bobenmoyer. It's such a pleasure to have you on the Don't Cut Your Own Bangs podcast. You are the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of CityMoms, and it is the largest growing lifestyle brand in the Midwest. So I am just so honored to spend some time with you and share all of what you do and what you offer women and mothers in the Midwest to the Don't Cut Your Own Bangs listeners. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So fun fact on how we connected, if I'm remembering this correctly, a couple of years ago, CityMoms reached out to me to feature Don't Cut Your Own Bangs podcast in one of your articles or newsletters, just featuring local podcasts in Indy. And that was so lovely. That was at a time where I was just starting and didn't know who was listening. It was so validating and a real confidence boost for me. So I first want to just say thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. I remember that article. We were pulling, I think it was the top 10 podcasts you should be listening to in Indianapolis, specifically founded by females. And you were one of the first that came to mind because I know you were just launching at the time. We were like, well, hello, of course you need to be listed on this.
When you're just getting something off the ground, there's so much space between where you are, where you imagine yourself to be, or where you want to be. And whatever you can do to just keep getting one foot in front of the other or even getting started takes so much energy and it's vulnerable. And so you and your best friend and business partner, Sarah Hawker, are sitting on top of this really beautiful community that you have built. I think community building is just a magic skill. And so I want to go back to the early days of City. You have some language on your site that I love. You need a village, we have it.
Yeah.
I was thinking that we don't need superwomen, we need supported women. I've also learned that what we offer others usually starts with the healing we need. And so you're a mom of teens now. So can you tell me a little bit about like the origin of CityMoms and how you went from, I'm imagining, having a good idea with your girlfriend to sitting where you're sitting today, being featured on the Drew Barrymore show?
Yeah, I was new to Indianapolis in 2011. So we had moved to the city from Detroit. I'm originally from Michigan, but my husband's from Indy. And in moving here to be closer to his family, I didn't know anybody. And my husband, wonderfully having grown up here, has a lot of friends that are still here. But he's like, let's go out with Davis and let's have lunch with Johnson. And I was like, I don't want to do any of that. And at the time, I had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. So you're just trying to keep your life together in those moments of motherhood anyway. So to be in a new city and just not know one soul was really, I mean, just adds more challenges on top of what you're already facing.
Mhm.
So we had been here, and just before I moved, a friend of mine in Detroit said, "Have you checked out Meetup?" And I was like, "No, what is this?" And so she's telling me about Meetup, and you can go on, you can kind of filter based on your interests and find a local community. And so I did, and I found a couple moms groups that were in the Indianapolis area. I found that most of the majority of moms communities that we find really across the nation, even today, are tied to one of two things. It's churches or it's
Mhm.
school. And
Mhm.
we didn't have either. I decided that that was the moment to potentially launch my own community, one that was just open to all moms across Indianapolis that didn't have those specific kind of school or church affiliation. And we had 100 members sign up on the first day.
Whoa, I have to pause for just a
Yeah.
moment. So you were seeking to meet your own need.
Yes.
And I find that so interesting. That's really telling about you just as a person and how you move through the world is you saw a gap for your own experience and then immediately connected it to what like how do I expand this beyond me?
Yes.
Opposed to like how do I find my community? How do I find my people? You're like, "Oh, there aren't people or communities, so I'm going to build one." That's
Right.
really interesting.
Yeah. And for me, it was because I desperately needed community. I desperately was seeking that out. I had never been shy to creating that myself in prior iterations. I was coming out of the advertising industry in Detroit.
Hmm.
And even in this really large advertising agency, had found my little corner of people. At the time, had founded a tiny, I forget exactly what we called ourselves, but we were almost like our cheerleading community of the agency itself, where we started to put on little events for this large agency. And it started just because we saw that at the workplace, it was just constant go, go, go in advertising. And there wasn't that pause to connect with, your desk mate or a team member. And so that for me is just something that I've always loved doing. But in coming to Indianapolis, recognized I also needed a community here. And without kids in school, without having a church home, without even having a neighborhood that I was close to, just that gap existed. And I realized it was something I needed to fill.
Yeah. And not only did you, sounds like, fill that for yourself, but then you met a need that many other women in the community had too. Now,
Yeah.
how did this? So, was Sarah somebody that came with you from Michigan? Did you meet her
Yeah.
here? How did that connection happen?
Yeah. So Sarah, my business partner and one of my dearest, I actually met her. We've known each other 7 years now.
Hmm.
The City Moms community and membership was running for years.
Oh,
I was introduced to her through a mutual friend. It was such a funny experience because we were at this mutual friend's house for a dinner. And immediately upon meeting her, I was like, well, this is someone I obviously need to know forever. She just has one of the most dynamic personalities. She's so engaging. She just pulls you right in. And she asked me a question about a dress I was wearing that was from Anthropology. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I have that dress. I think I have that in black, and you're wearing it in like a green." And it's like, "Well, yes,
yes. It's like that scene in Step Brothers. It's like one, two, three, anthropology. It's,
yeah, exactly, exactly." And I was like, "Oh, well, we're obviously besties."
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And at the time, she was in the process of quitting her nursing job. And I
Mm.
said, "Yes, I think my last day is going to be August 31st." And that happens to be my son's birthday. And she said, I've been working so hard at making this change. I'm going to start my own company. And I've needed this push for a long time. And I said, I am going to text or call you on August 31st and find out how it's going. And she was like, "Are you really?" And so there we are 2 months later. I texted her and I said, "How's it going? Did you start your own company? Are you making this next move?" And she was like, "Yes." And this is amazing that you remembered. And we just have been close ever since.
Hmm.
So she's one of my absolute favorite people. And as the City Moms has evolved, so has her role. First as a member, then she was a member of our content team, which I'm sure we'll chat about here in a little
Mhm.
bit. Now she's my business partner.
Wow. That's so beautiful. I find that women who work together, play together, raise kids alongside each other. It's like in the way that women can change hats in life, they can do that within relationships. I've just seen really well is it. I think that there's that old paradigm of which I've never really bought into, which is check your feelings at the door, leave work at the door. It's like we're all one person at the day where we have all these different parts. And that's so beautiful how that sounds like this friendship has grown as well as the business grow.
Yes, absolutely. And you hinted at the Drew Barrymore show, which was an opportunity that came out in COVID. Complete surprise to receive an email from the producers in actually, this was like end of July 2021. And they said, with COVID having really tampered down a lot of the programming we're able to do for this show, we're not allowed to travel as much. We are launching a new kind of mini segment inside the show itself. We would love to chat with you about the one that we would like to do in Indianapolis. We noticed that you're based there. Would you have any interest? And of course, Sarah was my first phone call because it's like, I need someone to scream with for a
Yeah.
moment because we had no idea or context what the segment specifically was about. I'll scream with her and then immediately called the producers. And they said, well, what we're looking to do is have two best friends in the city showcase the city together and what makes your city unique.
I mean, who better to do it?
And we're like, Indianapolis is such an incredible city and community to begin with. In just the 14 years that we've been here, to see the growth that this area has had, just all of the changes downtown, all of these incredible like national events that they bring in, like this weekend being WNBA All-Star Weekend. The city has just shown up for this. They've had the Final Four. They've had U.S. Olympics pre-swim trials. This city knows how to put on a really incredible display on a national level.
You know what you're making me think about is so in the work I do in therapy, particularly when I'm working with someone on their relationship, that the longer you've been with someone, and you could even you insert really any topic, a job, a place you live, in this case, a relationship, it's easy to take for granted what you think about them. And you lose access to maybe the curiosity and the wonder that allows you to continue to discover. I have lived in Indianapolis my entire life. You mentioned living here 14 years. But when I was preparing for this interview and seeing all the places that you're highlighting, there are places I have never been and I've been here my whole entire life. Just because I think I know, like this is where I live, of course I know. There is so much that I don't know. And we're talking about community and we're obviously highlighting city moms, but I think that there are takeaways that can be applied to so many walks of life, which is just when you think you know something for sure, allow yourself a little bit more space. There's just a little bit room for a little bit more wonder and curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that takes it back even to the origin of the City Moms. And a big piece of that mission was I wanted to get out and explore this new city and community that we were in. Just didn't have the roots quite yet to do that. And I wanted to do it alongside people as opposed to on my own. And we're talking about all these big events that the city puts on, but the other beautiful thing is the real fabric of the city lives in its people. And those that are here, we see so many that are coming in from other communities. We see a lot like you that have lived here for forever, but there's such an incredible mix of people in the city that really make it as special as it is. And I love that.
Thank you. That's such a great response. And your love for the city is so felt. And I'm curious about when you're in your content, which by the way, for everyone listening, everything is linked in the show notes, all the social media platforms, City Moms, where you can join the waitlist for their membership program. All of that is accessible to you in the show notes. So press pause, sign up, follow all the things, and then come back. Because the other thing I love about your content is you layer in a lot of humor. And even though it's not maybe spoken this way, there's this quality of, yeah, girl, I've been like, this is messy. And I'm also wiping up my own mess. I also have coffee stains. I also have food in my teeth. Can we just laugh at the ridiculousness of how hard this is sometimes? And I'm curious about how intentional is it? Are there like pillars that you try to hit when you put content out? Like it must hit these notes. And if so, I want to know what they are.
Yeah, we really do, because I think you're absolutely right. For us, and I'll just share a little bit behind the scenes for the City Moms in terms of the tone and voice that we are always after in virtually every piece of our content. I think this also comes out of my marketing and advertising background, but the voice and the tone and the brand that we are always aspiring to be is your best friend growing up. And your best friend growing up was the person you confided everything into, similar to me screaming at Sarah about Drew Barrymore. This is the person, there's your first call. That's your first call, your first text. But your best friend's sister, her older sister growing up, was the coolest girl that you ever met. She was the girl that had the full pull-out posters on her wall. She had the Dr. Pepper lip smackers. She was watching the hills. And she was the girl that you're like, I want to be her when I grow up. She's the person that is just a few steps ahead from where you are in your current life,
Yeah.
age, and you are constantly keeping an eye on her. That voice, that older sister is the one that we always aspire our City Moms brand to be, because we have been there. We have sat in those shoes. We have experienced a lot of the mess, but that doesn't mean that we are completely removed and away from it. It means that we are just a couple days ahead of where our City Mom might be. And all of our content will always ladder into that voice to say, yeah, we know it sucks because we've been there. For us, I think what's so critical when we're selecting what content we want to put out. So the humor that you see in a lot of our Instagram content is something that really is a great way to be super relatable and just share a lot of those similar moments. The one we posted yesterday, in case anyone wants to go back, the reel that we posted yesterday is from a creator named Sam, and she's sitting on her bed thinking and speaking aloud saying, why did I say that I was so busy before I had kids? What was I even doing before I was a mom? And I think all of us in motherhood and truly in adulthood have had that moment where we've been like, what did I do with my time? What on earth was I filling my hours with? That to be able to have kind of those humorous moments, I think is really critical to making sure that we're connecting with our City Mom followers and prospective members too.
That type of humor makes you feel seen.
Yes.
It helps you feel seen. And I think especially someone who like will grab the shovel and help dig into like the pits of experience with clients, like, having the levity. If there was ever a myth I wish I could bust about therapy and community, and whether it's group or a community like City Moms or any extension, when you find that type of connection, yes, you can have, like with a best friend or a best friend's older sister, you can have those moments where maybe a tear or two are shed. But when somebody sees you, there's laughter that happens in every therapy session that either I've participated in my own therapy or have led somebody else through. There is something about the truth, especially the truth that you try so hard to avoid, or that this is the one thing I just need to keep tucked in my drawer and never let anybody see. But then you see somebody else has it and you're like, oh, you have that dress too? Oh my God, yes.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too, what's really critical in doing that is just knowing that you're not living a path that is completely unpaved. And it is so hard in those moments when you've had 2 hours of sleep. It's so hard in those moments when you're like, are we ever going to get past this phase? But I think what brings so much comfort along the way is knowing that there are other women that have done that. And for us, that's why it's so critical to have a community that is supportive of each other and really allows you to be in those vulnerable moments with others.
What do you think attracts people to you and to your organization? Because like anything that you're highlighting could also be Googled.
Yeah.
But there's a way that you offer it and there's a way that you present it that is, it simplifies, it's reliable. There's like this bubbly, sparkling champagne effervescence to it. It just makes it a little shinier.
That's such a good question. There's some days when I'm like, I have no idea. Yeah, like we've been doing this for so many years. What are we doing? I really think it's because, and to use your phrase, feeling seen and being a part of a club that is all inclusive and allows everyone to be a part of it. Even in some of our content where we're sharing events that we might have put on for just our membership. So not even just our social media following, our editorial readers, the people that see us in broadcast and TV, but we do have this community of members as well. So when we put on these membership events that are a little more exclusive, we love to share those out with the phrase, steal this idea, because then it becomes less, this is only available to these specific women or these specific members, and make it this can be your idea too. So steal this idea. We ordered pizza And we set up a really fun styled party or picnic setup in a park. And we didn't invite kids. It was just moms. And we gabbed for the entire evening and we had a blast.
Yeah.
And you should steal this idea too, because it doesn't need to just be ours.
I can feel now how that falls so in line with your idea of we want to be your best friend's big sister, because that's what they would do. Listen, just take the shirt. You can keep it. It doesn't fit me anymore. I love that. Not only is it generous, but it speaks to, I think with time and experience, you realize, oh, there's always going to be more for me. So why gatekeep it? Like there's always going to be more. So you just have some of this. You can share some of this magic. That's so beautiful. Has your mission changed since you first started? Has it grown or is it kind of the same?
It's evolved. I mean, initially, the mission and the focus was always just to create this membership community, and that would be it. You know, we just have this community of women here in Indianapolis. The change happened and evolved in COVID because, as everyone knows, COVID forced so many of us home. That ability to connect in person no longer existed. In COVID, we held for our membership a daily call at 4 o'clock on Zoom that allowed our members to just get on and just have people. We had moms that were like, I've been in my backyard all day. We had moms that were like, I cannot play with Play-Doh anymore. I just need to have an adult to talk to. It started with the realization that we couldn't be together in person any longer and we needed to make a shift. And in making that shift, what we found was that our brand exploded nationally. So it went from we are moms in Indianapolis to we are moms that everyone across the nation can now connect with because we are all living the same life together. And it never slowed down. When we look at the breakout of our following and our audience right now, about 30% of that is in the Midwest and very quickly growing. But the other pockets are New York, Texas, California. And it just is such an incredible realization that what started as this very local idea became a steal this idea, let's all do this, and on a much bigger scale. So now we have this wonderful platform. Our number one driver is certainly Instagram, because that's where is almost all women in our age group. Yeah. We love it.
Yeah.
So Instagram's kind of our number one channel, I would say. Our second is broadcast TV. So in COVID, a lot of broadcast stations around the country also had to shift to a Zoom model and desperately needed content and started reaching out to us because we provided a lot of lifestyle content. Here are tips for keeping your kids safe in the new COVID world. Here are tips for planning kids being at home during back to school. And we grew from that, and we are now in 9 different TV broadcast markets around the Midwest.
Wow.
The segments we do across the country.
Those segments, I mean, not only are they fun to look at, but they also provide great information. So when everybody listening goes to citymoms.org, you'll be able to see all the media outlets that they've been on. All those clips are saved there. It's like in this beautiful little library bank that you can watch. So it sounds like it's changed. It's grown rapidly. Beyond, or I'd say even within the container of the community that you've created in Indianapolis, there's also a growing community for the business itself. There's many direct reports and people who are working within the City Moms organization and also supporting in other ways. So I'm curious, just from a business owner standpoint, how has that, because that as your community expanded, it's also like the call coming from within the house. There's growth happening inside too. What has that been like?
It's been incredible because, again, we really thought that in initially creating this community, we were going to live as a micro kind of nano events community would probably be the best way to put it. Or we put on events for our members and we would just keep putting on events for members. And we had our social channels that share out some of that information. But I thought for a long time that it was just going to be isolated in this teeny circle. And now we have a extremely popular blog. We have a digital editor and an entire writing staff that works under her. We have a completely female-based staff. Every member on our team is female. We've got this digital editor, writing staff under her. We have a content team separate from the writing staff. They are the ones that go out and gather a lot of the content that we put across social and broadcast. We have a project management team for all of our brand sponsorships that we work on. Our newest hire is a Pinterest expert, which has been so fun. Pinterest is one of those sleeper cells that not a lot of emphasis gets put on for lifestyle media brands. And we've decided to invest a person in that. She does a wonderful job. at getting our editorial and our broadcasts out in Pinterest. And then there's Sarah and I who provide leadership. Sarah has been a co-partner now for 4 months, or we're going into our fourth month together. So we're still figuring out those little funnels. Right now, we're just having fun overlapping and living everything together. And where she was that first call I made for the Drew Barrymore show, she's now my first call literally for everything. We've got this big event coming up on Saturday. We need to figure out the backdrop we're going to have behind that. She called me yesterday and I said, hey, work wife, because that's we definitely become for each other in addition to best friends.
Yeah. Is it an instinct? Is it research? Is it a combination thereof of how you stay connected with what moms really need?
Yeah.
Because I'm a mom of littles. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, an almost 2-year-old. He'll be 2 later in August. And I know my experience, but you seem to have a really strong sense based on the way people are really connected to this community of staying connected with what mothers specifically really need. I'm curious how you stay current with that, or is it more the needs really haven't changed?
No, I think that for us, because we have such a large staff, and for the most part, the majority of those women are mothers.
Yeah.
All of us are living a different little phase of motherhood. I have teens. Sarah has 12, 10, and 8. Our photographer, Brittany, has 4 and 2, just like you. So everyone is living at a different stage. And I think not only do we have each other from our team perspective, but because we have our membership community who is most certainly living all of this, we are able to lean on their experiences in addition to our own. And one of the biggest things that I really implore our team to do is listen, and constantly listen about what City Mom, and we call our avatar is City Mom. And regardless, again, if she's a member or if she's a follower of our brand and another channel, we call her City Mom. So I'm always pushing to listen to City Mom, listen to where City Mom is right now, what things are the hurdles in her life, what she's up against. And listening is the most important thing, because the last thing that I want to do in managing and running a brand and spearheading a brand is to not listen and just assume. I think when I also talk about voice, one of the biggest things that we've talked about as a team as well is I'm hearing a lot of we, and I'm not hearing enough of you. And by that, I mean, we can't come out and say, we know that you're so tired. We know that you're doing all of these things, and say, you're telling us that you're tired. You're telling us that you need some space or you need some tips on this. And by making that switch in kind of that voice, that helps City Mom understand that we are listening.
Oh, that's a really powerful language shift. And it's amazing how adjusting a word from a we to a you can really make something washed and vague to very specific and like straight to the heart. I think that there's something to the language of clarifying what is really a we, what is a you. And it speaks straight to the heart of what I think we want, which is to be seen. There's something about your community that doesn't beat you over the head with messaging. That's one thing that I was really impressed with, is that you get the sense of the essence of what you're saying, but there's not like a slogan, but the sense of the community is so clear,
Yeah,
which I find really beautiful.
I appreciate that. I think one of the things that we've forever wrestled with is really that idea of sales. And my team has heard me say this a number of times. I've always been a bigger fan of storytelling over sales, and storytelling kind of an experience, as opposed to you should buy in today. Deadline is this day. You got to get in now. Join here. This is the link, because we get sold on almost everything across our lives. And it's something as little as the gym to making a donation to a school, your kid's school, to just everything else you can think of under the sun. To me, it's important to continue promoting the essence of a community that you belong to, as opposed to an idea that you need to buy into with dollars. And that's one of the reasons that we transformed the City Moms into a completely free membership. That also came out of COVID and hearing a lot of City Moms say, I have to make some concessions right now. We had to shut off Netflix. We're not doing our Netflix subscription anymore because we're just so worried about budget. And that $9.99 a month that we were initially charging for membership. I was like, no, done. That's out. Never, we will never go back to a paid membership. It will always be free because it needs to be accessible to everyone.
So taking away a paid membership that sure that money was budgeted and allocated for you to operate what you do, it sounded like it was absolutely the right call for your community and your business. But how did you know that that would work? Or did you?
It didn't. No, for a little bit, it didn't work. And I will say
Oh.
that because I think a lot of us are parts of Facebook communities that are very spirited, maybe in some ways that bring a lot of entertainment. And we were nervous that that would essentially be the transformation that we would undergo. But we have all members incoming agree to specific member guidelines. And the number one guideline that is in there is every mom parents in her own perfect way. And we use that specific language because in some similar to a lot of things that we've talked about, the fact is we're all doing our absolute best that we can. And you need to be able to have some space held for you to do that. Rather than us identify our community based on your specific parenting model, we said, hey, everyone is welcome here. And we're going to honor you for being the parent that you are because we're all parenting in our own perfect way.
And nobody knows.
Right. Yes.
And
No one has it. Yeah.
nobody knows. That's always the gift of Captain Hindsight who comes in after a crisis. And so what should have happened? Do you know what studies are showing now? You're like, where were you before? Uh, so you talked about advertising and with all of the products and content and methodologies that are targeted to parents, but more specifically moms, what are the values that you look for when you're filtering through? Who do you partner with? Who do you highlight? Who do you say yes to? Like, what's the value that
Yeah.
you're really looking to offer?
I'm so glad you're asking that because I think the space that we sit in, we often are seeing a lot of influencers and content creators that they are really working hard to grow their brand and do that by signing with any partner that they can.
Mhm.
And you find that there can be a real, I don't want to say a moral gap because again, I'm just coming off saying everyone parents in their own perfect way. So everyone pulls content and create content in their own perfect way. But in looking and evaluating the partners that we want to work with, it's really critical to us that they offer a strong, supportive product or experience for our members and for our followers. We do a lot of partnership with tourism, with attractions that offer something for you to really be highlighted as the queen of your family because you're like, hey, we're going to go to Nashville for the weekend. And I've been able to put together a whole itinerary thanks to the City Moms maybe tipping me off about a couple of things. But now I've gone out and sourced this great itinerary. Or I have been able to enhance our nursery because we found this one product that the City Moms recommended. All of that to say, it's really important to us. We spend a lot of time vetting the products that we suggest. We spend a lot of time working with or having conversations with the brands that we bring in. That's never just a, hey, we want to compensate you X and you guys promote us. So I'll be like, okay, perfect. There's a lot of time that we spend really making sure that it's going to make a lot of sense. In fact, one of my favorite things to say is no. Sarah will tell everyone this.
Tell me more about that.
Just did this yesterday. I love when we are being approached by a particular brand or a client or a prospective partner. And I love going through that vetting process and saying, you know what? We spent some time and looked into this, and this isn't going to work for us. Case in point, the brand I turned down yesterday is something that we actually use a lot. Sarah and I are big fans of a couple of their products.
Mhm.
And they approached us about a new launch they're doing and said, we would love to ship you 2 of the new products, but we want all of this content. You need to send it to us for review. You can only post on the dates that we want. You need to release it all to us. We can use it for our future advertising. By the way, the cost of the products that we're sending you in total is $300. And the amount of media that was going to be attached to that from our side was about $5,000. We have a staff I need to pay. We have a team that relies on us. We have a full following that relies on us to make sure that we're being authentic in what we are bringing forward. I talked to Sarah about it a little bit. And I said, I'm going to tell them no. And I'm going to say there's a big value gap here, not just from the official bottom line kind of payment side of this, but also because I never want to put someone into a brand consideration when that brand's not considering them, just considering their own needs and their own drivers.
Oh, that's so strong, and not an answer I expected, but one I so appreciated on a personal level, a professional level. I don't know if you've ever done Myers-Briggs. It's a test that
Oh, yeah.
there's so many beautiful like personality assessment profiles, but I'm an extroverted, intuitive feeler perceiver. So I'm all the ooey gooey side, the mushies. And when I see people who maybe from the outside seem to have a very discerning methodology for how they make decisions, I find that so appealing because I'm such a heart led, gut check first kind of person. I don't always know why it's a yes or a no yet. It's like I feel it first and then it works its way up into my brain. And then whatever reasoning is sort of filtered through will come from that. But I love that you saw value in yourself, how you believed in the value of what you offer. And you also saw the gap in representing that product or that brand that didn't fully appreciate the value you were. I love that answer so much. I'll be thinking about that after this. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
You have a new membership experience starting
We do.
very, very soon. This episode, I believe, will being released mid-August. So we could safely say it's live. What do you want people to know about what's coming? And as far as what you can say, what do you want people to know so that if they want to participate, get involved, they can?
So our new City Moms membership is officially launching to we'll be rolling it out to our existing members starting August 1st, and then it will be available to everyone starting early September. I'm
Awesome.
excited. So we are shifting into a different platform than we have used previously. It's called Circle, and it's a wonderful space where we not only can have our full national City Mom community. You're going to find chat groups where you can connect with other city moms across the country there. Because me having like toddler woes in Indianapolis is no different from someone having toddler woes in Seattle, Washington. So why shouldn't you have access to that mom and her lines of recommendation and such? So we'll have these national chat groups. We also have an opportunity where we'll be doing a lot of lives inside the community that are member exclusive that we can connect you to some of these brands and partners that we work with. And then we are doing nano communities inside of that so that you can hyper connect with women inside your own city. So Indianapolis obviously will be our first big pilot there, but we have Dallas and Cincinnati that are also existing inside that nano community area. And we have 3 other cities that we think are going to be quickly following in 2026 as well.
That's so incredible. Congratulations. It sounds like
Sure.
your own City Mom social network.
Yes, yes, it
So
definitely is.
I'm excited for everybody who's an existing member to get to benefit from that. And then the new members who continue to join to get involved in that. That's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been one of Sarah's biggest passion projects as she's been getting her feet wet, and she's done an incredible job with it. The other really exciting benefit is there are perks not only for national members, but then in your hyper local communities too. So here in Indianapolis, we've got some great perks with the Idle Jordan Museum, with the Children's Museum, even Dry Bar, Face Foundry, because we need space for us too, for just all of those exclusive perks will be part of that too.
Beautiful. So not just stuff for the family, but also like ways for moms
Yeah,
to take care of themselves too.
exactly.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Well, Jeanine, I would be remiss if I signed off without asking you about your don't cut your own bangs moment because it is good. So if you are good taking it away, I would love to hear.
Yeah. I just want to tell you, I love this so much. I've listened to so many of your other podcasts, and these are the moments I just feel like really are the ones that sit with me the most. So I'm so thrilled that you have this as kind of just that final vehicle to the podcast content. But mine's a little different because there is a little sadness tied to it, but it brings a great lesson.
Yeah.
So I had mentioned that I worked in advertising for 10 years. I worked on the agency side and I was working in Detroit at the time. And I had a newborn. My daughter was a newborn. And then I had my son who was 3 years old at the time. And my client was based out of Germany. It's a very large grocery chain that happens to be based in Germany. And they have a lot of outputs here in the US. And at the time, we were all going through just a horrible recession in the world. And I was working about 60 to 70 hours a week. Advertising is one of those, especially agency side, is one of those industries. It is go, 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 and it is never stopping. My husband also works in advertising. It's actually how we met. He at the time was doing about 90 hours a week. We never saw each other. We rarely saw the kids. So my day normally started around 3 a.m. because that's when the German office was open. And it normally coincided with the time I was feeding my newborn in the middle of the night. So I would have my phone with me, feeding her, scrolling through email, catching up with the German team, put her back to sleep. And then I would get up around 6 when my toddler was awake and finally get the two of them off to daycare. And I made the decision, which a male boss of mine later told me was selfish, to go work out at a gym that was halfway between daycare and work every day. So I didn't get into the office until around 8:45. Technically, our office started at 9. I would work absolutely all day and then race out of my office at 5:51. Because if I could leave at 5:51, I could literally run down the street to our parking garage, get in my car, drive as fast as I could to daycare, and be there before the 7-minute grace period was over.
You had it down to the minute.
Down to the minute. And it was coming at a time where it was just, I was so burnt out. My husband was so burnt out. This one day, I got to daycare. My kids were always the final ones getting picked up. And I had a phrase for my toddler at the time where I'd always say, "Mommy always comes back." I would say that to him every morning when I dropped him off. And I ran into daycare this day and my son was crying. I could hear him in the toddler room. So I grabbed the newborn. She was already in her carrier. And I went in to pick him up and he's crying. And I said, "Honey, I'm here." And I got down and gave him a hug. And I said, "Sweetie, what do I always say? Mommy always comes." Ooh, this makes me tear up even thinking about all this years later. And he goes, "Last. Mommy always comes last." And that was the most soul-crushing thing I had ever heard in my life. And I cried the entire way home. And we put the kids down to bed after dinner and after their bath. And I turned to my husband and I said, "We cannot do this anymore. I'm done. We're done. We can't keep this schedule going. This is not going to sustain us anymore." And we made the decision that night. That was the end of this work experience for us. And we immediately put resumes and feelers out. And that is what made the transition to Indianapolis possible. It took months, but we eventually found ourselves here. And it was the best decision that we ever made. And what it all came down to was, in my don't cut your own bangs moment, was it is okay to say no. It is okay to take that stop. And is it okay to invest in yourself and your family if that's what really matters to you? I think maybe that's what the critical note is. It's okay to invest what matters to you. To me, that has always been the moment that I have seen as a turning point and has really been probably the most critical thing for me.
Thank you so much for that story. That my whole body, just waves and waves went through with that. And when you said it earlier in the interview, but I can really feel the truth of that in a different way, that you love saying no. Because I think what I hear in that is it's a fully embodied no is also a yes to something else.
Yes.
It is its own yes. Like, I'm saying no to this offer to position your brand. And I'm saying yes to my integrity. I'm saying no to the needs and the demands that this company and this industry has for me in my life. And I'm saying yes to my son.
Yeah.
My infant. Like, I'm saying yes to me. Oh, that reminded me, I hadn't thought of this in so long, but it brought me back to when I made the decision to when my husband and I made the decision to start to try to get pregnant. The journey was, knowing what I know now, far less complicated than it is for many, but it didn't happen the way I thought it would. And that is almost always where suffering comes for me, when there's an unmet expectation. And because you're taught your whole life, it's like if you look at a penis or sit on a toilet seat wrong, you never know how you're going to get pregnant. So when you first start trying, like, what do you mean it didn't happen right away? What do you mean? My first pregnancy, I was a newish therapist. I think I had been practicing for, I'm going to say 2.5-ish years, maybe three. But I had the process of going back to grad school, finding I didn't have the credits I needed to even qualify to apply to the grad program. All of this work and effort, it was like, once I set my sights on, I think this is something I want for myself, there was almost immediately after, oh my God, but I figured it out so late in life and I got to go, 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 go. So I burnt myself to a crisp, getting through all of the hoops I needed to get through to do the job. And I didn't realize the grind on my body, on my mind, on my life. I just didn't see it. I joked that it felt like the Roadrunner and Coyote running off the cliff. You didn't realize you were over the cliff until you looked down. And my moment of looking down and falling was when I lost that first pregnancy. And I don't blame myself for it. It's not that, but there was a clarity in the grief. And I think the grief I felt in my own body, your son spoke his truth to you. I felt like my body was, the grief in my body was revealing a truth to me that I wasn't willing to see, which was there's no room for me in this life that I've built, and I have to cut back. And it brought up like being a good girl, being a strong woman, being a strong feminist, being a diligent employee, being reliable, all of these roles and these external things that I was chasing in the pursuit of being really good at my job. That loss was just, oh, actually, none of this matters as much as I thought it did. Not that it doesn't matter, but it didn't matter as I thought it did. My hours cut dramatically back, and it didn't work for the practice that I was working for before, the hours that I would be willing to do. But then I realized with my husband's support that, oh, I actually can go out on my own. And life has unfolded. It wasn't like magically overnight any more than City Moms was created overnight, but it got you to Indianapolis. It's like the breadcrumb trail that you were following to freedom led you to something so beautiful that you probably couldn't have imagined at that day at your son's daycare, picking them up.
Absolutely. And I think it's kind of the power of listening. And that's one of the things I love so much about your podcast is being able to listen to the other stories that come from your guests, and really that you have the ability to tease out such a gift. And clearly the path that you have followed has allowed you to be there too, in that space of beauty. And it's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeanine. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring us to a close because we can't get any better. That was so great. I will definitely encourage again for everybody listening to please visit the show notes before you click back into your life and take your AirPods out or get off of your walk or wherever you are in life. Like to hop over the show notes, check out City Moms, follow them on social media. They make it very easy to find what you need to know. So all the places you can follow them. But thank you again. Thank you, Jeanine. And
thank you so much for having me.
I wanted to start a journaling practice, but didn't know where to start. Or if you've been journaling off and on your whole life, but you're like, I want to take this work deeper, I've got you covered. I've written a journal called Treasured, a journal for unearthing you. It's broken down into 7 key areas of your life, filled with stories, sentence stems, prompts, questions, and exercises, all rooted in the work that I do with actual clients in my therapy sessions. I have given these examples to clients in sessions as homework, and they come back with insights that allow us to do such incredible work. This is something you can do in the privacy of your own home, whether you're in therapy or not. It has context, it has guides, and hopefully some safety bumpers to help digging a little deeper feel possible, accessible, and safe. You don't have to do this alone, and there's also a guided treasured meditation series that accompanies each section in the journal to help ease you into the processing state. So my hope is to help guide you into feeling more secure with the most important relationship in your life, the one between you and you. Hop on over to the show notes and grab your copy today. When I set out to write a book, I only knew 2 things. One was I wanted to make big feelings feel less scary and more approachable. And I wanted to bring some lightness to the feelings themselves. What I know to be true as a therapist is that emotions are energy in motion. They have information to tell you to inform the next right step to take. And self-doubt, fear, anxiety live in that space between knowing and not knowing. The second thing I knew was that I wanted to have fun in the process of making this thing. The result is this: Wrestling a Walrus for Little People with Big Feelings, beautifully illustrated children's book that has a glossary at the end for some of the bigger feeling words. What this story does in a light and loving way is create context for those relationships you can't change, those people that you wish would treat you different, the things in life that we cannot control and yet we face that are hard. This book, it's a conversation starter for any littles in your life who want to create more safety and love and patience for some of those experiences. So hop on over to the show notes. You can pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or my website. I hope that you do, because I believe in this little book. I freaking love this little book, and I cannot wait to hear your experience with it. Thanks so much for listening, and back to the episode. Thank you so much for joining me in this week's episode of Don't Cut Your Own Bangs. I hope that you enjoyed listening, because I thoroughly enjoyed making it. Before you hop away, please check out the show notes, everything that we mentioned here in this conversation, as well as links that you can stay connected with me, as well as everything needed to connect with City Moms. Please remember to rate and review and subscribe to the podcast. It helps the podcast grow. It helps other people find this that can benefit from it too. Thank you so much for being here. Your attention means the world, and I hope you continue to have a wonderful day.